Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taylor Otto. I'm an implementation consultant here at Descara. Excited to be back for another week of our weekly webinars where we're going to be discussing warehouse management and specifically virtual warehouses and how that can help manage your inventory. So as we begin, I want to start by just saying, what is a virtual warehouse? So a virtual warehouse is a term that's used to describe the ability to see a holistic view of inventory across all channels and locations in a single place. And the first thing that comes to mind is, what is the difference between a virtual versus physical? So a physical warehouse is obviously where you keep your physical inventory in, and a virtual warehouse is any way that you want to see the inventory levels in a software. And there's many different use cases that can come out of that, whether that is keeping track of inventory that may be with a third-party manufacturer, slicing and dicing your inventory. So maybe keeping track of different types of inventory, whether that's food, clothing, and keeping that in different locations or just separate. And we're going to be going through some of these today, talking about what the benefits are. And then at the end, I'll show you what that looks like in Descara. So to kind of continue on our trend, the advantages of having an inventory management system and specifically virtual warehouses is for better inventory control. You're going to be able to see your inventory levels in real time. You're going to be able to separate your inventory. You can see where your inventory is at, whether that is through a job workout, whether that's on a traveling truck, whether that is just in your warehouse in general. And you get real-time analytics and insights. So you're able to make smart, educated business decisions based on the different inventory levels and organization. And with that, you have a lower inventory risk. So you reduce that risk of not being able to fulfill orders and making sure that you do have inventory in stock to fulfill the orders that your business requires. So there's a few different use cases that clients come to us with using virtual warehouses. So I mentioned the job workouts where you have third-party manufacturers and you send materials that you own out to a third party, and then you're going to receive a different good in return. So you're sending out your raw materials, they're going to do a process to it, and you're going to receive that. And one of the biggest problems with some of our clients that have came to us is they have no way to manage that. They're writing down on a piece of paper, hey, I've got X amount of products out to this third party. But other than a piece of paper, that's all the organization that we have. We have another client that came to us because in their previous system, job workouts would completely remove that product from their inventory, and it would essentially be off the books, which isn't an accurate description of what is actually happening. You still own that product. It's simply just somewhere else getting worked on, and then you would receive that back. And our system doesn't make that change until that new product is received. And then at that time, your raw materials would be decreased. Another use case would be scratch and dent products. So maybe you have used products versus new products. Maybe they've got a little scratch or a little ding, so you sell them at a discounted price. Instead of creating an entirely different SKU for that scratch and dent product, you could have a scratch and dent warehouse that you would transfer inventory levels into that warehouse, and you know that those products in that warehouse are scratch and dent. So maybe you sell them at a discounted price, they're a used product, and then you can fulfill orders from that warehouse. And this, again, saves having to create an entirely new different SKU to track that type of product. Other use cases with returned products. So there has to be a plan for when you take those returned products back in. So people return products all the time for different reasons. They find out they don't need the product. Maybe it's not exactly what they're looking for. Maybe it's not working like they thought they would. Maybe it came to them damaged. Whatever the case may be, when you receive those items back in, there has to be a quality check process. And what I've seen being used for organizational purposes is you have a warehouse for returns. And you know that inventory levels in that warehouse have to be looked over, and then you can do a stock transfer to, hey, maybe it's perfectly fine, it's new, I can bring that back to my main inventory. Maybe I need to do a couple minor repairs, bring it back to my main inventory, or Maybe it is damaged, but I can still salvage it. I want to transfer that to my scratch and dent warehouse, or I simply just need to stock that out because it's damaged and I can't sell it. In transit warehouse, another use case where maybe you want to keep track of goods that you are set to receive. So you have this this purchase order. You receive these goods in, and instead of waiting for those goods to physically arrive, you could receive those goods into this in-transit warehouse. So you can see, hey, I've got material here. I know it's coming. And when I actually do physically receive that inventory in person, I can simply transfer that to my main inventory. With traveling trucks, we see a lot of different use cases with businesses that want to sell products on the streets, whether that is for just driving around, parking and selling souvenirs, or maybe it's a food truck, whatever the case may be. It's important to manage that inventory and see, hey, how much of this material am I carrying on this truck? Helps for auditory purposes, making sure that you can track, hey, these products are on this truck. I'm coming back. I didn't sell any, but I'm missing a couple. And it helps you track that down and speed up that process. Again, the more that you can keep track of your inventory, the better that your business will run. Lastly, just slicing and dicing your inventory. So like I said before, maybe you're a business that sells food, you sell clothing, you sell all these sorts of different types of products, and it makes it easier for you to manage if you separate those. So maybe you have one large warehouse, one section of that is food, one section is clothing, but on the virtual side of things, for organizational purposes, you want to open up a virtual warehouse where you can store your clothing products that you're selling and your food products that you're selling. So if you want to take a quick glance, you can go right into that warehouse and see that product. So we've talked about these different use cases. I'm going to show what that looks like in Descara. So right over here, we would go down to our inventory and click on warehouses. And we've got a few different examples here that we've discussed. So for example, if you're someone that wants to slice and dice your inventory, you have your clothing warehouse here, where maybe you can store your clothes, and then you have your food products. And maybe you want to store your food products in a different virtual warehouse. And that just makes it easier to access. You can see, hey, what are my stock levels in this warehouse? Maybe you have a traveling truck. So you've got a main inventory, and I'm going to be taking out a truck and trying to sell some products on the street. Well, I want to know how much product I am bringing onto that truck. And I can do that with a simple stock transfer where I can create a stock transfer. I can select a product that I have, whatever that case may be, what's available. And then I can choose my source warehouse as primary, and I can move that onto this traveling truck. Hey, I'm going to try and sell some books today. I'm going to bring 10 onto that truck here. And now my inventory levels will reflect that I have 10 less in my main inventory, and I have 10 on my traveling truck, which reflects, hey, I've got 10 products that I'm trying to sell in this traveling truck. If I fulfill orders, I'm going to fulfill it from that traveling truck. We have our scratch and dent warehouse. So again, if you have products that you're selling at a discounted price, maybe they're slightly used, you can still sell that. And then when you fulfill those orders, you fulfill from that scratch and dent warehouse. You've got your job workouts. So when you dispatch goods to have a service done to them that's outsourced, you can dispatch those goods to that job workout warehouse and keep track of where your material is at all times. It's not leaving your inventory, but you know exactly where that product is. So many different use cases here for our warehouses. And kind of going through this today. If you are interested in learning more, please reach out to either thomas.cole@descara.com or taylor.otto@descara.com or simply sales@descara.us. We also are streaming on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn, whether that was something you saw today, something maybe in a past webinar, or anything that maybe you have noticed during this presentation that we did not talk about. Reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.